I am live. I think I'm going to go live on TikTok as well. I did that the last time. And yeah, I think I'm going to do that this time. So let's see. Honestly, I'm talking to myself again, but I don't know if I want to go live on TikTok. I don't know. I'll see. I might do it after. You know what? I'm going to wait until people come in and then I'll go ahead and do it. So, all right. I'm here, people. All right. I'm here. Let me see. Let me put another post on Facebook. Let me see. So let's see. Okay. All right. So that's it. So we're just here. We're just waiting. I'm waiting for my regulars to come in. Come on, ladies. I got some regulars that come in every week. Okay. 2 minutes and 28, 29, 30 seconds. So I'm going to give people another minute. And then I'm going to close out. And then maybe come back in. We'll see. Okay, I'm just checking my email, sitting here waiting for people to come in. Come into the room. We'll say, guy, come in the room, come in the room, come in the room, come in the room. That teacher on TikTok, I crack up at his videos. So funny. Yep. So come in the room. Where y'all at? Where is everybody? Well, what I am going to do is put the link in for my stand store. So let me see. No, we don't need to do that. Let me just find my link. And I'm going to go ahead and post it in the chat. So, there we go. I'll probably end up coming back here though because it doesn't look like anyone's showing. Ah, there she is. Okay, Brown Sugar, what's up, girl? Okay. Just in time. I just posted my link in the chat for my stand store. And I mean, we can get started. I have one guest. I got my regular Brown Sugar in the house, in the building. And we're just going to get started. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to start by reading from my last article. And because the last article is titled Financial Codependency, When We Allow Love to Override Money. And I want to read that even though the title of the live is called Just Because Survival Mode Does Not Equate to Being Broke. But all of these things tie in. So I wanted to read a little bit about, I wanted to read from my article. So let me see. 1 minute here. So I hate when this happens. Okay. Okay, so we moving a little slow today. It's getting you know, we moving kind of slow with getting started. So, but let me see. So let's see. You know what? There was a certain passage I wanted to read, and it's so funny because when I was looking at it the first time, I was like, "Ooh, let me read this." And now that I'm looking at it again, I'm just like, "Was I really getting ready to read that?" Okay, hold on. It's insane. Okay. Let's see. Well, anyway, let me just get into let's just get into it because this is all weird and kind of wonky and I don't like it. So let's just get into it. So basically the title of the live is, like I said, survival mode does not equate to being broke, right? And I wanted to talk about that because, you know, we hear about survival mode all the time. Survival mode, women are in survival mode, right? And I did a TikTok on this last week, I believe it was. And then I think I did another one on Monday. And so basically what I was talking about is the fact that, you know, when we talk about survival mode, right, we first have to get into the way our brains are wired. And I talk about this a lot. If you've been following me for a while and you've been coming to my lives, you know that I talk about the brain and how it works and all that. I talk about that a lot, right? And so when we're talking about survival mode, we have to understand that the brain itself is wired for survival. So when we hear people say, "Oh, well, you know, she's in survival mode," or even if we hear someone say, "Oh, well, I'm not in survival mode anymore," technically, because you are human and you operate with the human brain, which is wired for survival, you're in survival mode, right? Now, I talk a lot about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And when we're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the first two tiers is rooted in survival mode. Okay, so that's your basic needs: food, clothing, shelter. And then we get into relationships, friendships, families. We want the sense of belonging. You know, these are part of the first two bottom tiers of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So when we're talking about when we're talking about survival mode, and as it relates to women, and this thing that's been attached to women to say that you know, when a woman is you know, she's in survival mode, so she, you know, she gets with all, you know, she just gets with a guy so he can pay her bills and do all this stuff because she's in survival mode, right? So I like to get to the core of things, and what we have to understand is, number one, like I said, the brain is wired for survival. Number two, when we're talking about women going into being in survival mode, we can look at that as, if we just take how I always talk about how women were taken out of their sovereign capacity, right? So if we go from a communal egalitarian structure and then we go through all of these systems and then we end up settling into the patriarchal system, the nuclear family, right? That in and of itself definitely places you in survival mode. Okay. So because now you don't have that communal structure anymore. It's just you, this man, and them kids, right? So everything that you're doing is about surviving. Even if the two of you are working and you're both bringing an income in, you're still surviving, because number one, you don't have that full on network and communal structure of other women. Women are supposed to be, as a mother, it really is supposed to be that village concept. Like, it's supposed to be a network and a community of women supporting you, right? And so because you don't have that and you've been placed in a nuclear family, you are in survival mode, right? So both of you are working, you're paying the bills, because it takes two incomes now. The mother, she's outside of the home and she's working, which is fine. I love when women work. But what I'm saying is, if we're going to place it underneath this patriarchy structure that we're under, well, if both parents are working, then everything that you're doing for the children is outsourced. So you have to pay for activities, and if you want them to go to a good school, you got to pay for that. So if, and whatever sort of needs they may have, a lot of children have autism, so you got to, you have to get support for that, or they're playing sports and they're getting tutoring and they're doing all of these things. But all of this stuff is rooted in survival, right? Because you're doing all these things because eventually you're going to transition out of here, and you need for your children to be able to what? Survive without you. So therefore, you need all of these resources and all of these things to make sure that your children are able to thrive in this world, right? But you also have to thrive as well. So if the parents are not in a space where they're thriving, then neither can the children, right? And so we got to go from surviving to thriving. Personally, I think you need to do both. It's nothing wrong with surviving. We all have to survive here. I mean, to be human, self-preservation, that's the first element of survival, self-preservation, right? So anyway, right. So the first element of that is self-preservation, which is rooted in survival, right? So I would venture to say that you want to be not only surviving, but you want to thrive as well, but you're always surviving, right? We're all in survival mode. And so I talked about in the article where I was saying that, when we talk about women, and we'll use the example of a woman who was in a long-term relationship, or if she was married and now she's divorced, right? And so we always think that women are just in these like really, really terrible places, once they come out of a marriage. And a lot of times the women do have to start all over again financially. They have to rebuild their life. A lot of women do find themselves in situations where they're almost destitute and they have to pull themselves up out of that, right? But then you have women who, like I mentioned before, if you have a woman, say you work the entire time of your marriage or whatever, you have some sort of income coming in. And so once you're out of that, yeah, you're good as far as your basic needs are being met. You're not worried about food, right? You live in a decent neighborhood, a decent place for you and your children. You're good on that front, right? The survival aspect is you now having to rebuild your life outside of that structure you were already in, of which is marriage. So most likely, even if you were the one also earning an income, the way this thing is set up, most men have it in their mind that I'm the dominant one, and So it's if he was making more money than you, he's going to see himself as being like the dominant figure, the leader, right? And then if you were making more money than him, then of course it's going to cause this rift because men base everything on how much money they make, right? So and so if you were the one that was actually earning more, then of course that's going to cause friction between you and him, right? So either way, money is always going to be some sort of sore spot in a relationship between men and women. And this also has to do with the natural sexual conflict between men and women, but I'm going to that's another day. So if you came out of the marriage, and like I said, let's say if you was earning an income, right? And so you're good on those particular areas. Like I said, you don't have to worry about your children. They're, you didn't have to uproot them. Maybe they were able to stay in their school. You were able to live in the same neighborhood. And let's say if he moved out and you're still in the house, that's a good situation to be in too, right? He left. So you're still good. You're in the nice neighborhood still, decent neighborhood, the kids can continue to go to their schools and all of these things. So they didn't have to be uprooted, but you're still rebuilding, right? Yes, they think money makes a man. Yeah. So you're still in the space of rebuilding, right? And whether you're able to stay in the house or whether you had to move, either way, you're rebuilding. What is that on my wall? Is that the screen? Oh Lord, that's the doggone screen, y'all. Okay. Okay, that was the screen. Look, I don't want to be looking like people watching it live and like, what's that stuff on her wall? So anyway, yeah, so she's rebuilding her life. So you go from being in that type of structure, because it's still a type of structure, right? To where it when you're married and when you're in these long-term relationships, the woman being placed in the subordinate or the submissive position is actually it's implied, right? So he's gonna feel like he can make all the decisions, or whatever when it comes to the finances. And then even for you, even though you had your own income coming in, most of the times women still just they defer everything over to him. So they'll operate in this space of like, if she wants to go shopping, she has to consult him first. Oh, well, maybe I shouldn't buy this because we have to do this or we have to do that. Well, let me text him and see, blah blah blah. Like, this is the kind of stuff that we do as women. I had a friend who bought her man a car, and after the breakup, doesn't pay child support help her. She's on her own. Only good thing yeah. See, and that's another thing, and I definitely want to get into that as well, because that's another part of it. So because you have so many different relationships, and how the relationships end. Some divorces are amicable, right? But I don't know what the statistics are on those. But a lot of times when a woman is filing for divorce, the husband will say he was blindsided. Now, I don't know. I mean, come on, like, come on. I don't particularly buy into that, but he always liked to say he was blindsided, right? And so what ends up happening is that, then there's this fight, this tug of war. So then you end up going to court, and it's just this whole process, right? And so even after all of that, you still have to rebuild your life, right? And so that, to me, that still places you in that space of surviving, because it's like, okay, now it's just me. Even if he's paying child support or alimony or whatever, it's still on you. You still have to handle things, right? And so you have to, it's like you now have to see the world through your own lens now, and you're not seeing it through his lens or the lens of a couple. And we have to consult each other on every single thing, and all of this stuff. Like, I remember, for me, I used to kind of feel like kind of guilty for buying shoes. And and I know that takes place a lot in these marriages and stuff. Like, even the whole thing of buying something and hiding it. Like, I've done that. I used to do that. Um, and so, and it becomes like such the norm, even though it doesn't feel good, it just has become a normal part of your life. I'm sorry, I'm getting a call here. I need to send a text. So, um, it becomes, a part of your life. And so women often spend their income on the household and men spend their money on themselves. Yeah. And see, and that brings in the guilt. Like I said, it's like you start feeling bad because you want to get things for yourself, but you feel like, oh, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that. Well, don't the kids do this and don't the kids need that? Oh, well, we need this at the house. And so these are the things that you end up doing. And so what you end up doing is not doing for yourself, right? Like, again, I know for me, I stopped going to get my facials. I used to get facials. I can't remember how often, but that was like a regular part of my maintenance. I used to get facials. I used to get my hair done and that's when I used to straighten my hair. So I had a standing appointment for facials and a standing appointment for my hair. And then I used certain skincare products, all of these things are part of my maintenance. And of course I love to shop. I could afford it when I was single, no kids, not married or anything. Hey, that's what I did, right? And once I got married, I stopped doing those things because I always felt like, well, I shouldn't spend my money on this because I need to go get that, or I should spend my money on that because the kids need this, or it was always something. I was always coming up with these excuses not to do things for myself. I stopped getting my hair done. I stopped getting my facials. It was crazy. Like, and then I ended up not working, so I stopped working. And I mean, it was just like a whole thing. And you know, you do so many things as a woman when you decide to get into these marriages or these long-term relationships. You and your partner together for a long time, there's children involved, but you never did the whole paper thing of getting married and do the paper, right? So the survival aspect comes with, now it's on me, everything is on me, right? All the financial decisions are on me now. I don't have to consult with anybody. And so what has to happen is like a rewiring of your brain has to take place. And so you now are having to see the world through your own lens and not through his. That's a big part of the survival aspect of marriage. So that's why I said, oh, this keeps itching. That's why I said, survival mode doesn't equate to just being broke, right? And then people have different meanings of what broke is to them. Like as a woman, like I said, let's say you're coming out of a marriage or long-term relationship. Well, broke to you might be, I can't, again, facials. I can't go get my facials anymore. I have to cut back on, whatever sort of things that that you deem is things that you used to do for yourself, any sort of extra things, whatever it is you needed, that you wanted to do for yourself, and you no longer do it, right? You might consider, that might be considered broke. You might be like, oh, I'm too broke to go do this now, right? But excuse me, it doesn't mean, the survival mode aspect of it still, to me, does not equate to just being broke. And so the survival mode thing is like, I find it so interesting because when we talk about how women are, because it's about resources, right? And so when we talk about how women are in survival mode, it's really just based on needing to have access to resources. And so because men hoard the resources, then what else, it's almost like, okay, so who else are we supposed to go to for the resources, right? But a woman in and of herself, she is a resource. And so once you come to that understanding about yourself, right? And then you find yourself, well, you're single, you're not married anymore, or you're out of that relationship. Now you have to look to yourself. You're the resource. Okay, so because I'm the resource now, how am I going to navigate this? How am I going to navigate life now knowing that I'm the resource? Yeah, he pays alimony or child support, or he don't do anything. We split and that's it. He's over here doing his thing, I'm over here doing my thing. Either way is still on me. Even receiving some type of financial support is still on you as the woman, as the mother, because most likely there's kids involved here. Most long-term relationships and marriages, there are children, right? So it's still on you. Even if he comes to get the kids on the weekend, it's still on you. You've always done the bulk of the parenting and you will always do the bulk of the parenting, right? So that in and of itself is an aspect of survival. My nose just will not stop itching. That in and of itself is an aspect of survival, right? So when we, when we look at the concept of, because I kind of want to get back, I want to go a little bit back to what I think this survival mode thing, how it began, right? And why women look to men to survive as their way to survive, right? So when you get into the nuclear family and say you are a woman who if you never worked or you did work and you stopped working, you are looking to this man to basically take care of all of your needs as if you are a child, right? That is how you are surviving. And the narrative and the way this thing is set up, like I said, men hoard the general sense of the patriarchal structure is that men hoard the resources, right? So that's who we look to. We look to them for our very survival. Like there was this post I saw where they said, and women say that men view women as a retirement option, and that is true. However, women view men as a retirement option as well. Because if you are a woman and you are not working and you are just relying on this man to take care of everything, you're married to him. So it's this whole thing of till death do us part. So you're married to him for 25 years or whatever. And then, you know that you're going to be entitled to certain things. Like you're going to be entitled to his retirement, right? You're going to be entitled to, whatever sort of, you got here in California, you got community property. So as the wife and the mother of the children, you are going to be entitled to certain things. And I think that is where this concept of looking for men as retirement options, I think it sort of connects with that, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm not working now. I can just be at home with the kids and I don't have to do anything, right? Because he's working every day. And, when he retires, then, the children will be grown and it'll just be me and him and we'll live this simple retirement life, right? So women are looking for men as retirement options. Now, men looking for women as a retirement option is a little bit different. And this is what I always say, men and women don't view these relationships the same. Both of them are looking to get something completely different out of it. And most men and women don't know this. I would say for the most part, even women don't really know this. Women go into these relationships and these marriages thinking that the man wants the same thing that she wants. No, we looking at two different things. So, back to the survival mode aspect of it. So when women were taken out of the communal structure, the egalitarianism, and we went from all of these different systems, agriculture, the Industrial Revolution, bringing us into the nuclear family. So women had to do what they needed to do in order to survive. So we hear stories about how, in these elite royal families, having a male heir is what was, that's what it was all about, a male heir. So these women were so adamant about having a male because they knew if they had a male heir, that was going to secure their position. So then it became having a daughter was like, we want sons, because under the patriarchal structure, the male heir is valued, not the female, right? So that became her way to survive. So that's why I said everybody's in survival mode. Even the queen mother of whatever monarch or court or whatever, she needs to have male heirs in order to survive, because that is going to secure her position. If she does never produce any male heirs, then they looking at her like, okay, well, you know, once he dies, once the king dies, I mean, that's it for her. There's nothing else for her. So she's constantly wanting to make sure she produces male heirs. Um, and now if she's smart, she'll be doing all these different, making all these strategic moves, like my girl, Catherine Medici, um, the Serpent Queen. I don't know, Brown Sugar, if you ever watched that. That is such a great show. You should watch it. To me, Catherine Medici, she actually embodies a matriarch, and characteristics of a matriarch, because what people don't understand is that when women keep talking about matriarchy, the stuff that she was doing, most women could not even. They couldn't wrap their heads around what she had to do. So it's called The Serpent Queen. I'll put it in the chat. It's on ANC. At least it was. So it should still be on there though. Just to be able to catch it. Yeah, so it's a really good show. And so, when women doing all of these things, it was just to ensure their survival. It wasn't, you know, I don't think that it was necessarily, oh my God, I love my son so much. No, I think that because you live under a patriarchal structure, in order for you to ensure your survival and secure your position, you better have a male heir. Matter of fact, squeeze out a couple of them, right? So this to me kind of gives birth to the whole boy mom thing as well. So once we became had to be once we were find ourselves under this patriarchal structure, then I think that's how the boy mom phenomenon got so to what it is, right? I mean, personally, I think that ever since women started birthing males, they were kind of like boy moms, but I think that it got worse as time go. I can't even get into that. I would literally, you know what? I should do a master class on that. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a master class on that, because that's a lot. Because we talking about historical things, we're talking about book references and all that. So I think I'm gonna do a master class on that, about how this boy mom phenomenon became what it is. It wasn't always like that, but I think that, like I said, once women started birthing males, it started shifting into that. So when these women were doing all of these things that they needed to do to ensure their survival, that's why they did it. That's why they wanted to have male heirs. See, yes, I agree with. Also, I was reading Substack, and it mentioned that if women weren't subjugated, many people wouldn't have been born. Especially, yeah, because that's the thing. I don't know if you ever because I'm a big Game of Thrones. I'm one of those did not read the book fans, only going off the movie, but analyzing the characters and stuff like that, and seeing how the women were, how with the things that they had to do. And so in House of the Dragon, Rhaenyra's mother told her, our political, how did she say it? We exert our political power in the bedroom, or birthing, some kind of way she said it. But basically what she said was, I can't remember the exact wording, but basically what she said was, women exert their political power by having male heirs. That is how they secure themselves. That is how they exert their political power, right? Because when she's having male heirs, that keeps her somewhat sovereign, not totally sovereign. You know what? I don't even think you can be somewhat sovereign. You either sovereign or you're not. So no, she ain't sovereign if that's the only way she can be sovereign is to have male heir. So no, you're not sovereign. But under the way the monarchies are seen, they're sovereign, right? They're the sovereigns of the land, when really it's the males that are sovereign. But as long as a woman is pushing out male heirs, then she's sovereign, I guess. So yeah, so basically that's what she said. She was like, this is how we exert our political power. And I mean, and that's what it was. Like, you under patriarchy, you better have males. If under patriarchy, at least within, you know, supposedly, you know, elite, wealthy, royal families, right? You better have male heirs. It's like, look, lady, now we got you in here. We married you in because of that womb. So you better get to producing these males, or I don't know what to tell you. Because they know that the kings are going to go out and, you know, have sex with other women. And a lot of times they produce bastard children. Well, the bastard sons can't take the throne, right? It has to be, you know, within that bloodline. So, you know, so she has to produce those male heirs, or else who knows where she's going to find herself once the king is dead. And so, you know, if there's no male heirs, then she's basically in a messed up situation. I'll just say. I was gonna say the F word, but I don't know. I don't think Substack censors you too much on here, but I was gonna say, if she don't have no male heirs, then she's basically. So yeah, so that is, you know, so we can look at, you know, we can look at that and see how this survival mode started to come online. But as I said before, because you are a human, you have a human brain, and a human brain is wired for survival anyway. You're in survival mode. Even wealthy people are in survival mode. I mean, we can look at celebrities. Remember when all that Diddy stuff was coming out and we were hearing about the Kardashians, this and oh, and they had to do this, they had to do that. They're in survival mode. Like, they gotta work. We think and it's not to say that they don't have all of this money and access and resource and all, because they do. They absolutely do. Like, we have no idea what these people have access to. But the bottom line is they gotta work. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't. Right? So they gotta work. You know? Kris Jenner has to do what she's doing, right? You know, you don't go get all that plastic surgery and doing all that stuff that she's done for nothing. She ain't just doing it just for shits and giggles. She's doing it because she know that she has to stay relevant. She has to have the aesthetic of, I am this matriarch of this great all woman line, right? And I have to look beautiful. I have to keep myself up. I can't just be looking all any kind of way, right? So that's her working. That is her in survival mode. She got to do that. And all her daughters, they got to do what they got to do. Why do you think Keeping Up with the Kardashians is still on? It's not just greed. They have to work. Celebrities on the red carpet, promos, all that stuff is... People act like celebrities don't work. That's their job. They have to do that. It's in their contract. You got to go to the promos. You got to make an appearance. You got to go to this talk show and talk about the movie. You got to do all of this stuff. They're working. Right? They have to work. They have a whole team. They got to pay these people. They have employees on their payroll. They got to pay these people. They got to pay the makeup artists, the stylists, the wardrobe people. I mean, they got to pay all these people, not to mention the live-in help at their house. They got to pay for all of that. They got to go to work. Right? So it's like, especially if you are new, like celebrity rich, a lot of celebrities didn't come from long lines of wealth. Like, we're not talking like the Rockefellers and all that. We talking celebrities, Hollywood, music, actors, actresses. Like, they gotta work, right? So, because they still got to make sure that they're playing the long game with their money. So this is why you're always going to see the Kardashians. You're going to always see Beyonce and Rihanna and all of these celebrities that we see, oh, they made it onto Forbes list of being billionaires. Yeah, but they got to work still. You make it to Forbes as a billionaire, you can't stay a billionaire if you don't constantly have this, your assets and everything working for you. So you got to work. So they're in survival mode. Like social media presence, just seeing them, you know, Rihanna and what's that dude she with the baby, are they married? Whatever. What's her name? We'll just say her baby daddy. I don't know that dude's name. I forgot. I don't keep up with the rappers, y'all. I really don't. But I wish my nose would stop itching. But when we see them on, you know, Instagram, Facebook, or whatever, hey Tiara, they're working. You know, when we're catching glimpses of them coming out of a building, they're working. ASAP Rocky. What in the hell kind of name is that? Anyway, they working. They got to go to work, you know? So it's like everybody's in survival mode. You know, we live in an economy where everything is expensive. It's insane how expensive everything is. So it's like, it's amazing to me how we think that wealthy people don't work. Rich people aren't working. CEOs are running Fortune 500 companies. They have to work. They have to pay people. They got kids. They got to want to send to these private schools. Like they got to work. So everybody's in survival mode. So that's why I keep saying survival mode does not equate to just being broke. Now, there are women who are broke that have to do things in order to survive. Absolutely. We know that. Yeah, how many young girls, 21, 22 years old, are starting OnlyFans because they got to eat. And they know they can make a shitload of money real quick. Right? So they're working. They're in survival mode. Michelle Obama with her books. Absolutely. The Obamas got to work too. They got kids. I don't know how old their daughters are, but they might be in college at this point. They got to pay for that. Yeah, they probably get perks and all that. Yeah, absolutely. We already know they get all that kind of stuff, but they still got to work. Exactly. So Michelle with her books, her podcast, she got to work. Everybody's in survival mode. If you don't have to work, then you wouldn't be working. That goes for everybody, from the very to the wealthy, to the blue collar worker that work, you know, whatever, to the UPS postal worker. Everybody's working. The grocery store clerk, everybody got to work, right? So this thing about this so-called soft life, I don't know where these chicks is gonna get that from, because even like, you know, making a little over $100,000 a year was like big time 5 years ago, but that's not gonna fly now. So I don't know where these chicks are getting that they're gonna be able to sit home. You gotta work. Even if he's making 125,000 a year, 150,000, you still gotta go to work, especially if you live in California. The cost of living out here is insane, right? You gotta work. So being in survival mode does not equate to being broke. It equates to the fact that you gotta work. You gotta pay for stuff. You got kids. Kids are expensive. Whether you live in the hood or whether you live in a nice middle class, well, it's about to be done with the middle class. We'll just say a nice middle to upper class neighborhood. Everybody's working, right? Kids are expensive. So, yeah, so it's like, it doesn't equate to being broke. My nose just will not stop itching, y'all. I think my skin is dry. Oh my gosh. So yeah, so everybody's working, and you know, just because you're working doesn't mean you're broke. Right? You work so you won't be broke. That's the whole point of working. So you won't be broke. So it's like, we're all in survival mode. All of us. Some are more, you know, in the trenches than the other, but it's still the same thing, right? So, I look at, how we view things, how we view the wealthy elite and all of that, and then how we view, the so-called middle class and all of that stuff. And the one thing that everyone has in common is that everybody is surviving. You're here on this 3D, third dense planet, anchored to this place. Your ass got to go to work. Now, when we want to get into the whole thing, where it's like, well, this isn't how it was supposed to be, and and what kind of crazy system is this where we have to get up and go to work just so we can pay to have air and all? Yeah, I mean, I get all that, but you still got to do it. I mean, you can get on, your podcast and TikTok and all that stuff and talk about it and have these diatribes about it all day long, but you still got to get your ass up and go to work. You have to. So this, like I said, this soft life, I get it. Honestly, I do get it. It is rooted in something, right? We look at, I really think that women are looking at like ultra wealthy women and thinking that they don't have to do anything, like this, how with Sierra and Russell, right? And I said, I really think the reason why women are so invested in what Sierra is doing, because they really think that Sierra doesn't work. Sierra ass is working. Do we not see her on Instagram dancing and shit all the time? She's working. Don't we see her out at events with her husband? That's work, right? Having to look beautiful, the maintenance, the way, because Sierra is just absolutely just fucking gorgeous, right? But she got to pay for that. She got to work. Russell got to work, right? Because their money has to play the long game. And like I said, when you don't come from historically wealthy families, you're not coming as the Rockefeller or the DuPonts, or even the ones, it's some of them out there we've never even heard of, right? If you're not coming from that kind of financial background, you got to work. And even the ones who come from those types of families, they still have to work. Like, they have to understand the family business, assets and trust. They got to understand all of that. So they got to work too, right? And so, and that's, like I said, that's why I think that so many women, they have this idea in their head, and I'm gonna use Sierra again, where they think that all she does is sit around and look pretty. She's working. Beyonce is working. Hell, Blue Ivy is working. She was working. When she was up there on stage performing with her mother, she was working. She had to practice. That's work. And I think they was paying her. Was they paying her? They probably had some kind of way where they were paying her. So she had to work. So she couldn't just come in there and just bullshit. She had to go work. She had to practice and do all of that. So we have to get it out of our minds that being broke equates to survival mode, equates to being broke. It doesn't. It can, depending on your lifestyle. Like I said, some people are more in the trenches than others, but it still comes down to everybody is here. If you are a human on earth having a human experience, you are in survival mode, because the brain is wired for survival, right? So we're all working. We're all surviving. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that and this whole thing is about, I wanted to reframe. This is a reframing, and I'm big on that, right? And I talked about it in the article. If you're on here, my email list, you got the article where I talked about financial codependency and what happened inside the marriage, how you were before you got married, and what happened inside the marriage, right? That took you from sovereignty to not being sovereign, Oh, girl, that's my son. Don't pay him no mind. Let me tell you. So first of all, it's spring break. Oh, they not fighting. That's my son. He's doing a thing. He's up there. That's him. He's playing around. I don't know how else to do it. Is what you gonna call it, a skit? I don't know. He's probably recording himself pretending like he's fighting. This is the thing that he does. It's cool. We good. That's him. I hope y'all can still hear me though, because he is awfully loud. So anyway, my son has autism, and it's spring break, but anyway, with him having autism, he creates, one of the things that he does is he creates characters, and then he acts out situations. So that's what you're hearing. So anyway, but thank you for asking. No, girl, he good. He's good, and he's very noisy. Can you guys still hear me really good though? Is it disruptive? You can tell me the truth if it's disruptive. So put it in the chat if he's being disruptive. So see. Anyway, can you guys hear me? Just tell me if you can hear me. Okay, great. So you can still hear me. Okay. So, hold on a second. Nobody.
You want to talk about me, right?
Oh, of course not.
You want to talk about me?
Okay. Anyway, I had to mute all of that, and I'm sure you guys saw that. So, yeah. So basically, you know, I wanted to, you know, talk about that today because it was on my mind about this, like I said, this ideology of being in survival mode equates to being broke, and so actually, I hope that this was good. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's going to be better next week. I have a few things coming up. I actually am getting ready to do a masterclass next week. And but you know, I'll keep everyone posted about, you know, what that's going to be, the subject and everything. I have it in my mind, but I don't want to, you know, mention it right now. But yeah, so it's going to be really, really good. So before I dip out, Tiara, ma'am, I will see you tomorrow. Tiara's a client doing the work, and I'm going to place my let me see, I'm gonna put my link in the chat again. And you know, if you have not joined the community, I would definitely encourage you to do that. It's really, really great. I have some great things in there, and it's a sacred space for women. Let me put my link in here again. Okay, you guys let me know if you can see the link in the chat. So definitely go browse my stand store so you can see all of my offers. Right now, I am offering a free 45-minute coaching session. And also I have a audio installation. Yes, you see it good. I have an audio installation too, and that's free as well. You download that, and that way you get on my email list, and so that way you'll get all of the notifications of everything that I have going on. Like I said, masterclass, everything that I'm going to be doing, you get on that list so you can stay up to date with everything. And right now I have this audio installation, which is like, it's less than 10 minutes, and it's to help you. First of all, it's good for nervous system regulation, and it's also to help to start to reinstall that inner authority, right? So those are some really great things. Definitely go to my stand store and check it out. I talked about last week, real quick. I talked about this, and I do it with my clients. It's called the Click Reset, and basically what that is to help you to whatever sort of limiting beliefs that you have with, but this particular one, because I get more in depth in it in my sessions, but I wanted to just kind of give this freebie. So basically it's for a limiting belief that you have. So you can choose a limiting belief that you have. And usually these limiting beliefs are created when we're children, but sometimes they're created when we're adults. And that limiting belief basically dictates how you see the world, how you live your life, the decisions that you make. And sometimes, we don't even realize it because it's in the subconscious, right? So our beliefs basically dictate our reality. So the click reset is, I use the Tupperware, the sound of the Tupperware. You know how when you put something in a Tupperware container and as soon as you put that lid on there and you hear it click shut, you know that thing is tight, it's locked, and ain't nothing getting out, right? So I have my clients to take that one belief and they visualize it, right? And then they place it in that Tupperware container and they listen, they think about the sound of the clicking sound when that Tupperware top is locked and sealed. That's where you place the belief. And what that does is, like, I had a client, she said to me, I placed it in there and I went ahead and did what it is that I was thinking about doing. But first, when that limiting belief came up for me, I had to lock it away so that way I can go do what I needed to do. And it's such a simple way to also anchor yourself, because most of the times when we're having trouble with a decision, is a lot of times it's rooted in some sort of an emotional response to something, right? And so what that click reset does is it helps you to not only place that belief and contain it so you can go do what you have to do, but it also helps to anchor you, right? So try the click reset. I wrote about it on Facebook. I think I did it here on Substack. I'm not sure, but if not, I'm gonna go ahead and go ahead and put a post about it on Substack. And let me know how the click reset goes. Brown Sugar and Tierra, y'all my only two guests here. So Tierra knows about the click reset. So Brown Sugar, I want you to try it and let me know what it did for you, if it helped you. And also, go visit my stand store. So, and like I said, if you're not a part of the community, I would definitely recommend that you join. Also, my one-on-one 4-week container obviously is still open now. Well, that's ongoing. If you do not have to have done the one-on-one container in order to join the community is just open. So yeah, so like I said, check out the link, and I'll see y'all next week. All right, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. All right, see you next week.
Smells like stinky daddy feet down here, mommy.